The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here, at our sea-washed sunset gate shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she, with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore, send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
Our words from reflection this morning are titled No Angel by Catherine Taffariello. The story's strange. For once, God wasn't talking, busy with some sacrifice or slaughter somewhere else. No plague, cloud, gushing water, dream, omen, whirlwind, just two women walking the dusty road from Moab to Judea. One, the younger, having told the other, not her own, but her dead husband's mother, that she would never leave her. But they flee a famine for what at first seems something worse. To come as widows to a crowded city, to men's appraising stares and women's pity. Ruth, the pagan, heard Naomi's curse, cringed and scanned the sky. No stone or fire came crashing downward. They were on their own.
I grew up Jewish in South Africa. When I was about 18 years old, I asked my mother what she would do if I came home with a non-Jewish girlfriend. I'd drop dead, she answered. When I married Laurie, who was not Jewish, my mom fortunately did not drop dead. But she didn't attend our wedding. She gave the excuse that it was too far for her to travel from South Africa to America. Despite this, over time, she and Laurie developed a pretty good relationship, built primarily on Laurie's persistence and her refusal to not let my mother be cut off from us. She wrote innumerable letters during her 2 pregnancies and the early years of our children's lives, describing in great detail what the kids were doing, learning, saying, and what we were doing as a family altogether. My mom responded with affection and gratitude, and even came to visit us a couple of times before she did indeed become too old to travel. I believe she truly loved her daughter-in-law, but there was always the one insurmountable wall: religion. I've always felt that this wall, this narrow clinging to the orthodoxy she had grown up with, deprived my mom of the full joy of her family, and especially of being a grandmother. Having grown up Jewish in a pretty conservative congregation, I went to Hebrew school all the way through high school, and an essential part of that study was reading the Bible. So when I think of my mom and her relationship with her daughter-in-law, I find myself going back to the Bible and the story of Naomi and Ruth. Briefly, the book of Ruth tells of an Israelite family that is forced to leave its home near Bethlehem because of a prolonged drought. The man, named Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their 2 sons settle in the land of Moab, about 50 or 60 miles away. The sons both marry local Moabite women, Ruth and Orpah. Not long thereafter, Elimelech dies, as do both sons. The 3 widowed women are left to fend for themselves in a world that regards them as nothing more than property. Naomi decides that the best she can do is return to her kinsmen in Bethlehem, and she tells her daughters-in-law that they should return to the homes of their fathers. Orpah decides to do that, but Ruth says, "No, I will go with you. I will go where you go." The hymn we opened with today is a close translation of the biblical text. This story of Ruth, according to the text, took place during the time of the Judges, which historians fixed between about 1200 to 1025 BCE. The relationship between the Israelites and the Moabites was, particularly in the earlier years, racked with violence and suspicion, starting around 1300 BCE. The book of Numbers describes a situation where the God of Israel becomes angry because the Israelites were intermarrying with the Moabites and began worshiping Moabite gods. And so he commands Moses to stamp out the Moabite influence. Quote, "Take all the chiefs of the people and impale them in the sun before the Lord, that the anger of the Lord may turn away from Israel." End quote. Despite this horror, intermarriage continued, as we read in the book of Ruth. There is no condemnation here of Naomi's two sons for marrying non-Israelites. But there is also no guarantee that God's wrath will not be inflamed again. The decision by Ruth to go with her mother-in-law is remarkable in this broader historical and social context. But what calls out to me about their story is overwhelmingly the love they had for one another. Naomi's initial offer to give up their relationship so that Ruth might live with her people, and Ruth's response, "Your people will be my people, your God, my God." She knew that their relationship, two widowed women in an extremely oppressive patriarchal world, was more important than her religion or her nationality. What bravery, what fierce commitment, what steadfast, unquestioning love. In the end, all they had was their relationship, and everything in their lives developed from that. And so it was with Ruth's decision. She saw her relationship with Naomi, her mother-in-law, as more important than her nation or her religion. She understood that being with someone who loved her and someone she loved superseded all those aspects of her life that she had been born into and had no say in. I wish my mom could have seen things the way Ruth and Naomi did. She would have been a much happier person. There is nothing in the biblical text to indicate that Ruth formally adopted her mother-in-law's religion. And there are some who consider Ruth as the first convert to Judaism because under Jewish law, for a child to be Jewish, its mother must be Jewish. And the book of Ruth ends with a brief genealogy claiming her to be the great-grandmother of King David. But the idea of the Israelites being defined primarily by their religion rather than as a nation did not come about till centuries after Ruth, during the period after the destruction of the first temple in Jerusalem in 587 BCE, and the exile to Babylon which followed. So what is Ruth talking about when she says, "Your people will be my people, your God, my God"? Let's hold that question and get back to the story. When Naomi and Ruth return to Bethlehem, they are taken in by the community and Naomi's kinsmen. Ruth goes out to glean in the fields of Boaz, who is a relative to Naomi's late husband. The practice of gleaning is deeply embedded in the laws spelled out in the Hebrew Bible. Quote, When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap to the very edges of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest. You shall not strip your vineyard bare, or gather the fallen grapes. You shall leave them for the poor and the alien. A few verses later, the text is more specific about the treatment of foreigners. Quote, when an alien resides with you in your land, you shall not oppress the alien. The alien who resides with you shall be to you as the citizen among you. You shall love the alien as yourself, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. End quote. So Ruth stays with her mother-in-law's family and is able to glean in the fields, not only because she is a poor widow, but also because she is a foreigner, an immigrant. She is, in fact, to be treated as a citizen. So Ruth, the Moabite woman, is accepted as a citizen in the nation of Israel. She later marries Naomi's late husband's kinsman, Boaz, and she becomes a pivotal ancestor as the great-grandmother of King David. This idea, or more realistically, this ideal of acceptance and welcoming of foreigners, is one which people and nations have grappled with for thousands of years. Our own history here in America has swung back and forth like a pendulum over the generations. One of the grievances against King George, spelled out in the Declaration of Independence, deals with his opposition to immigration into this country. Quote, he has endeavored to prevent the population of the states. For that purpose, obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners and refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither, end quote. In other words, George's tyrannical acts prevent immigrants from coming here. Our founding fathers demanded open immigration into this country. But we have also closed our borders to various people. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 stopped the flow of immigrants from China. The Immigration Act of 1924 limited the number of immigrants allowed into the United States yearly through nationality quotas. Under the quota system, the law favored immigration from Northern and Western European countries. Just 3 countries, Great Britain, Ireland, and Germany, accounted for 70% of all available visas. Immigration from Southern, Central, and Eastern Europe was limited, and immigrants from Asia and Africa were essentially barred. And this law, of course, was used to block thousands of Jews and other refugees trying to escape from Nazi-occupied Europe. And now, of course, the multiple acts of our current administration are focused on preventing people from Central and South America from coming here. The other side of the pendulum swing is best expressed in the words of the poet Emma Lazarus, which I read earlier, and which are inscribed on the base of the Statue of Liberty. Not only do we need immigrants, but we are a refuge for them, not the mighty and the lofty, but the poor and wretched, the gleaners, perhaps. We see their humanity, and that is all that matters. This simple idea from Ruth the Moabite, your people shall be my people, embodies so much humanity, so much understanding of the unity of all people, so much love. So may it be.